That's it. We're live. Hello.
Is that vodka?
It is straight vodka, yeah.
That's how you prepare for the nerves of a live
That's
interview.
it's been a rough day.
Bit of Grey Goose, lad.
No, we're not that posh, man, off here. Right. Well, thank you for being here today, Rich. I appreciate you giving up some of your time. So, for those of you who are watching this now or watching this on the replay, Richard Grannon is someone who's been involved in coaching and mentoring people for over 20 years. So sorry if that makes you feel old, Richard, but I just want to give you
wise.
want to give you a proper intro. So for those of you that that don't know about yourself, Richard, you're happy to tell everyone what you do and how long you've been doing it for, and where you specialize in.
Yeah, I've been talking to people for years. I acquired language very young, according to my mother, and if she wouldn't listen to me, I'd just talk to myself. So I've been talking for a long time. I graduated with a degree in psychology. I was a bit disappointed with it. Came out. I was looking to join the army at the time, and I worked for the probation service for a bit in Runcorn. I'm sure you can imagine how lovely that was.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
they gave me people who were our clients, not criminals. You won't call them criminals. Clients who had a drug abuse issues. So basically, people who are criminals because of their drug addiction. And that sort of experience of going from university and seeing the incompetencies there and seeing the gaps in what I was doing in there, or what I was taught to do in the probation service, put me on a bit of a mission, really. And fast forward to now, and I'm just trying to give people material that they can use without a bunch of gobbledygook or going around the houses and just say this is what you can do. Take this and go and use it. Generally speaking, if it doesn't help people put their socks on in the morning, I don't deal with it.
Yeah. Why is it you sort of went in the narcissist CPTSD sort of niche? What brought that on?
Well, it was partly. So I was working in nightclub security, and I was teaching self-defense with psychology. And that was what I was known for in the sort of the martial arts community, is combining neuro-linguistic programming and self-protection schedules. And I wanted to expand out and get back to just actually doing coaching with people. But what I'd found works, and this would be good for people as from a business point of view, as a good principle of action, is people, humans, the market, they want to be spoken to and they want to be part of a conversation. These long form podcasts like this, where you can just have two people in a room just having a bit of a chat, they're very popular.
Yeah.
Because it feels conversational. It's not like a lecture by a professor wagging his finger at you and droning on in a monotone. It's almost like you're overhearing an interesting conversation in a bar. Yeah. And YouTube should be used that way. Our social media should always be conversational. It's a dialogue. It's a dialectical format. So what I did was I created a dialogue with the followers that I had on Spartan Life Coach back in 2013 to see what they wanted to talk about. And I hit on narcissism, and the response compared to every other topic I covered was just through the roof. Even to this day, as you know, I just started on TikTok, and the video I did on narcissism has got 500% more views than any other video I've released on TikTok, or 600% more. It's crazy. Yeah. So narcissism, hey?
It's worrying too.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's just grown and grown in interest and sort of in the sort of public's consciousness in the last 7 years or 8 years now that I've been involved with it. I've been waiting for the wave to break. I'm like, it'll break this year, and it doesn't. It just gets bigger and bigger and broader. So now people want me to talk about not just narcissistic abuse between individuals in personal relationships, but narcissistic abuse from governments to a population. So yeah, it's not going away as far as I can tell. A lot of people feel as though they have been narcissistically abused in different environments, and it's also a modern framework for discussing evil. altogether. So people can't just say, it would be weird for people to say now, oh, I experienced evil and I don't know how to deal with it. So they'll say, I experienced a psychopath or a narcissist.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you've obviously started a business, which we'll touch on in a short while, and you sort of listened to the small community at the time, and then your career has sort of pivoted and catapulted in a certain direction purely because of the demand.
Yeah, really. There's been a few principles I've been involved in. I think in my whole life since the age of 15, because of the nature of my family, I've been involved in over 20 startups. And when I say startup, all 20 of those were from the ground zero, nothing. It's just, oh, we're renting this office space and we're doing this. Or not even we're renting an office space, we're using a room in the house for this. And so I saw many, 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 many failures. I mean, most startup businesses fail. They'll tell you it's 80%. It's nonsense. It's 99.999%. They die on the vine. And so I learned what not to do. And one of the things that I grasped was to keep the juice flowing in a business. Business owners, entrepreneurs, service providers, which is what we are, whatever we do, we're service providers ultimately. We deal with humans. So we all have to be psychologists and we all have to have a philosophy of conduct with humans. There's no such thing as a business person who doesn't have a grasp of psychology. A successful one doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to make it conversational. It keeps the juice flowing. I need the market to tell me what they want. Sometimes I tell them what they need, and that does work. But when you're starting out, you're better off. It's going to be faster if you fulfill a pre-existing need in the market and reverse engineer your product and service from that. A strong need, underserviced, identify that, reverse engineer a product or a solution to that, than you saying, oh, I'm dead good at table tennis lessons, I guess I'll just teach tables. Or if you already have a thing and you want to sell it to people, I can carve chairs, so I'll sell that. It can work, and there are plenty of examples where forward engineering from what you have to the market can work, but it's so much easier. I mean, you want your clients banging your door down. You don't want to be knocking on their doors. It's spirit crushing, and it bleeds the energy and the hope and the optimism of a business, because it's humans. We talk about business like it's another world, but it's humans with humans. Yeah. Even huge corporations are formulated by humans.
More humans.
Yeah, just a huge number of humans. The corporation can end up becoming its own sort of zombie entity that supersedes the humans if it's big enough. But you take the humans out, and that zombie entity will collapse and fall to its knees. So we have to have that conversational. You need to be warm-blooded when you're a small business entrepreneur. Nobody watching this is ever going to be Nike, Coca-Cola, or Facebook. So we don't model what they do. They're in a rarefied seventh heaven that we're not concerned with. Never model your business strategy on what Google, Facebook, or Coke does. It's a really good way of losing money rapidly, because what people who do that, I realize I'm talking over a little bit here, but just to finish that thought, right, they're the people who spunk their capital on advertising. And small business entrepreneurs, in your first 5 years of operation, I wouldn't spend a penny. I wouldn't spend a penny, not in the age of social media. It's totally unnecessary, unnecessary, and not a good use of your capital.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I actually tried Facebook ads very recently. Didn't invest much in there, but the return on investment was absolutely not worth it. I found,
and think about how many millions of people like you have been lured in and done it, and Facebook's like that. Well, you read the terms and conditions, lad. Yeah, I'll take your 200 quid and his 200 quid, and I'll take 1 billion people's 200 quid, and everybody goes, oh, it was a bit shit, really. It got me not much. And they're fucking raking it in. Sorry, I cut you off then.
No, absolutely. I was just saying that, whereas I started TikTok myself up beginning of the year, done a couple of videos, they did really well, and I was thinking there's some potential here. And then I'd done what I called Master Your Mindset in March. So basically it's 31 pieces of content a piece of content around a particular subject each and every day. And yeah, the amount of clients I got from that was unbelievable. And as you said,
but what you did there is you gave them something first.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't ask them for anything first.
No.
That's a mistake. We never, as small entrepreneurs, we never ask people for something first. You give good quality products and services away, and then you gain this thing called credibility. You can't buy credibility. It doesn't work. If you're Coke or BMW, okay, fine, but forget about that. We, the people watching this, will never buy credibility. And so we have to be warm-blooded, and we have to think small. We have to think village marketplace. You know the names of all your first clients. That's not a question. I know that you do.
Yeah.
Because everybody does in their first year. And that's the community spirit that you never really want to lose. But obviously, as you become more successful on your road to being the Wirrell's answer to Tony Robbins, it does get more and more difficult. But when we're starting out, that's how we need to operate.
No, absolutely. And I think I've seen that. Yeah, I saw that at the beginning stage. You have these big entrepreneurs saying, it's give, free, and then, convert them. But you mentioned just then about starting up, and you also mentioned, I think you started Spartan Life Coach 2013.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
So if you were doing Spartan Life Coach all over again now, if you had your time again, what sort of direction would you take it in?
I don't want to answer these kinds of emotion-inducing. Would you fuck off? What would I do differently? Oh God!
What I'm trying to ascertain is what sort of mistakes do coaches make? Let's change the question then. What sort of common mistakes do you see new coaches make?
No, honestly, it's a perfectly valid question. It's a really, really good question. I mean, I think, so I'll answer the first question you asked me.
Okay.
Because we know each other through psychology and CPTSD and trauma. So for the entrepreneurs watching this, if you're sick, your business is sick. If you're depressed, your business is depressed. If you're not working, your business isn't working. And so from 2013 to now, I've been through my own individual recovery process. And with zero effort, I just focused on recovering from childhood trauma. My health improved. I started losing weight. I was like not as interested in drinking and shagging. And I started like getting more order in my life. Yeah. And that reflected in the business. So the business is very ordered now, but I've done nothing. It's of its own accord. So that element of having my own personal issues resolved really, really made a difference. So if people have personal issues, if they can try and resolve them first, that's really going to help. But what would I do differently? I think the scope of vision I would have been a little more audacious. The piece of wisdom that I have now that I didn't have then is the following. Everybody should try and remember this. The baseline state for humanity is desperation and despair. So if you have anything that is better than that, you have something of value. Anything. So if you're not confident in how amazing you are, you can draw confidence from what a low level everybody else is operating from. So if you go on YouTube or TikTok and you can do 15, 30-second clips that make people laugh, that's a service. I know it's kind of corrupt to think in this mercantile capitalist way, but it is. I mean, that's what people go on Instagram for, to get little bursts of serotonin and endorphins. And we can take that principle and use it and say, okay, in a sense, what we all do, from medicine, IBM, Coke, BMW, the bakery down the road here, they make people feel good. Yeah. They make people feel good. So much of what we consume is non-essential. It's not necessary. The overwhelming majority of what we consume in the modern Western world is complete in the world. I mean, East is West now. They're just as bad. Thailand, Malaysia, China, it's the same. We consume things that we don't need that make us feel better. So understanding that the baseline state of humanity is one of not one of strength, but one of sort of feeling a little disjointed and frightened and anxious and not confident, will give people the confidence, I think, to surge ahead. The second question you asked me is, what are the big mistakes I see people making? They're too stingy. I would break it down to two things. Startup businesses that I've been involved with, whether it's professionally or it's my mates, too fucking stingy. Don't be a minge bag, you bastards. If you're good at something, if you make nice cakes, give some cakes away. Just stand there and give cakes to people and be like, you know, all right, I'm Tony's Cakes. If you like that cake, come and see me. It's person to person. Goodwill, you can't buy goodwill. Even like I give the example of BMW and Coke and all that. Do you know, most people don't realize Coke and BMW and these high-level corporations, I only found this out myself 4 years ago and I was appalled, because I know somebody in the trucking business and he used to work for I can't remember, what's the Swedish car, whatever they are. He used to work at a high level there, and he said we would bang out a budget, an advertising budget of millions every year that amounted to billions over decades. And I said, well, you know, you've got high level analysts who know exactly how much money they're getting back from the advertising. I'm sure it's all worth it. He said, we haven't got a fucking clue. Nobody looked. And I was like, you're banging out hundreds of millions of pounds and you don't know what your return is. He said, we don't need to know what the return is. The budget's huge. Who was it? Say they're Skoda, which is, say it's Skoda. They'd be like, if we see BMW has an advert there, we're fucking putting an advert there. The end. And I was like, what? But you don't know whether you're getting. They said, well, we've no idea. There's no way. And then he said to me, think about it. It's untrackable. It's an untrackable exercise. You just spurt out money with some beautiful, weird, like car adverts are weird as fuck now. They're all really surreal and sci-fi and emotional. And you go, I don't even know, are we looking at cars or depression or is this artwork? What the fuck?
You don't know,
they have no idea what the return is. None. And they don't need to know. So but we have to think differently. We have to think in terms of like, okay, how am I going to buy credibility? And how am I going to buy love? How am I going to buy attachment? You can't. You can't buy it. You can't with money. The only way you can buy it is you can trade with people by giving them things for free that are of value. Just make their lives better. The trade back is they see you as authentic. They see you as reliable. They give you love. You need love first. This is psychology. You need positive, unconditional regard first. And then people will give you their money. I don't fight. I haven't fought with a person over money to get their money since I was 18 years old. And I was in Hamilton Square, lad. Hamilton Square, in a boiler room, calling up old people trying to sell space in a charity magazine. I haven't fought for a sale in years. I can't be arsed fighting for sales. Never. I'll just go, here's a really amazing product. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. But if you want a refund, you can have a refund. It's pretty good. And then I sell people stuff that I think is usually underpriced by about 20%. I always know I could get 20, 30% more. So that I'm over-delivering on the product. I'm underpricing. And by doing that, I've bought even more loyalty and even more love and even more attachment and more trust. And this is the way to operate. The second thing that people do, apart from being too greedy, is they don't respect their clients' money. So startups, too greedy, not greedy, mingy. What do you call that? Being, what's the proper word for a minge bag?
Being a minge bag. Tight.
Being tight, lad.
Yeah. What would you call it?
I always forget this fucking word. There's a proper word in English for it.
Being tight.
For people who speak properly.
Not us, tight-fisted.
Yeah, tight-fisted, arse, minge bag. These are all very Scouse terms. Give it away. And the second thing is respect your client's money. So it's a philosophy based on respect. You don't know where your client's money came from. You don't know what is being sacrificed, that's being exchanged. You don't know what their financial situation is. When they give you money, when that money hits your bank account, you are in a sacred contract with them and you honor that contract. So many startups that I've seen seem to have this weird idea that being an entrepreneur is kind of being an arsehole. I'll be like, yeah, I got like 500 sales. And they're expecting the product on Monday, but fuck it, I'll give it to them on Thursday. I'm like, no. You stay awake for 48 hours if you need to. If you said it's Monday, that's their money. Even though it's in your bank account, that's not your fucking money. That's the business's money, and it's their money. And they can always call it back. So respect it. Put it in a holding pen. So I'm digressing here. Most people who get involved in business need to rethink how they think about money. But we must respect the client's money as well, I would say.
Do you think that's from a startup point of view, their sort of perception of wanting to get rich quick, if you like? Because I've seen, when you mentioned then about, I was in recruitment for 5 years, and it was a lot of, like you said, chest beating and, not respecting people's money and things. It's just like, okay, another sale. And when you just put it like that, saying too many companies, entrepreneurs, startups fail because they're not respecting that, I can say I've seen that firsthand. But why do you think that is then? Do you think it's because, for example, let's use coaches. Do you think it's a case of the lack of education on it, the lack of sort of, for example, for me, I've got mentors, I'll reach out to you. You were someone, no problem at all. Sort of appreciating that there's plenty of people out there that know better than me in certain areas and certain aspects. Do you think it's just the lack of education in their educational system, or what do you think it's down to?
I think I remember back in the 80s and 90s when I was a kid growing up, I used to listen to a lot of cassettes, old bastard, on personal development, and it was the old school American salesy, evangelical, people who would have trained Anthony Robbins. I can't even remember that, like Zig Ziglar and people like that. And it was always this thing of, we're all funny about money. And Americans, actually, American entrepreneurs are not, they have generally, there are scumbag American entrepreneurs, but generally speaking, what I can say from what I learned in America, because I've run in LLCs in America before, is that attitude to money is much healthier because there's more of it there. It's easier to set up a business in America. It's easier to make money in America. It's a huge country. It's a very consumer culture. They want to be sold to. For any of you coaches who are watching now, if they're not in America, I would say target Americans, because it's just an easier transaction. Like, they want to buy things, they want to be coached. UK is catching up with that now, for sure. What was your question?
My question is, why do you think people are, stingy and don't respect their clients' money? Right. That was the question.
Yeah, we all have bad beliefs around money that must be resolved, and these can range from, well, let's keep it really simple. So for me, I was at a lower middle class to working class childhood, but elevating. Like, the family was moving up in we were upwardly mobile. The extended family was upwardly mobile. So you saw both positive and negative attitudes to money, but generally speaking, negative. Things like there's just never enough, or you need to rip people off to get rich, or you've got to kind of exploit your workers in order to make cash, or all of it. It's all such shite. Because the truth is, I met a guy when I was 22, and I moved to Greece for a little bit to help set up a bar, and that was a startup. It was built from the ground up. And there was this rich guy there who'd become a multi-millionaire who was helping to build a bar to be a barman. Didn't need to. Yeah. His thing was selling, he was an Alfa Romeo car specialist. Alfa Romeos apparently break down all the time. And he said to me, he's like, money is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in everything. There's a ton of it. There's so much you couldn't dream of spending it in 10 lifetimes. That's the state of money. Access it. Find a way of accessing it. And I was like, lad, you are blowing my fucking mind here. I'm on €3 an hour to fucking do shit cocktails in the sun. But how do you go from, I was a doorman for years, £9 an hour, worked at Sainsbury's, £5 an hour, was a taxi driver, £12 an hour. So you end up with this, like, money's tight. And if you want money, you've got to work like a dog, and and so you get like psychopathic attitudes towards it. There's never enough. We've got to fight. We've got to fight. And me now, I'm just like, fight if you want to, but it make you grumpy. It's not necessary. Make a really good product. People will bang your door down to give you cash.
Yeah.
They'll bang your door if you're good, because nobody's good. Everything is shit. Like I said, the baseline state of humanity is despair. The baseline state of services is shit. You fly on a plane, it's shocking. You go to a restaurant, it's 9 times out of 10, there's major faults with the service. You go to a bar, you rent an apartment, everything sucks because everybody has this minge bag attitude with cash, and the psychopaths. People come to me and they'll buy a product, and then they'll come back a month later and they'll be like, money's tight this month. I'm really sorry. I need a refund. I can't afford shopping. And I'll send them, I'll give them all the products, and then I'll just send them $60 and say, I'll buy you shopping this month. And you think, why would you do that? You've just given all your product away. You've given them a refund and you've given them money on top. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I going to do with it? Like, there's only so much protein shake I can drink, or like nice clothes or Ray-Ban sunglasses I can buy, and then I'll be fucking dead. Yeah. Why have we developed this weird, it really, tight arse is the right word. It is a sphincter that is shut. Yeah. There's no need to be so retentive. Just give it. It's fine. There's loads of people. There's loads of money. If you're providing a good service or you're providing a good product, people will bang your door down. I have to say to people, please leave me alone. Please, like, I'm very sensitive. I seem like an extrovert, but I'm an introvert. Just you've got to give me space so I can produce more product, because if I didn't, the door just gets hammered down. Why? Because I'm good at my job. I'll just round off because I do talk way too fucking much.
That's all right.
The other thing I'd say to entrepreneurs is become a craftsman or a craftswoman at something. Choose a thing and become really good at that. So you come to me now after 8 years with a problem with narcissism or a problem with like relationship psychology or heartache or whatever it is, and you have a 15-minute conversation with me, I will give you an insight. I can show you something that your counselor and your therapist couldn't. Why? Because I just looked at it for years. I'm that person who makes chairs and carves them for his whole life and then goes, oh, you can make a chair out of this. Yeah. And if you like chairs, it's great. Nowadays, everybody's like, no, he's got to be slick. You know, it's like the Dragon's Den. Millennials in California. Fucking hell. The number of like people a bit older than you who should know better, they're in their early 30s, who come to me because they know I'm doing okay with business, and their business model is to set something up, have it run well for 5 years, and then just sell it for $1 million.
Yeah,
and I'm like, who put this shite inside your fucking head? I wouldn't help you to do that. What kind of garbage mentality is that? Serve your clients with love. Don't just rip people, build up a business and then spunk it away because you wanted your $1 million.
Yeah, I think when it comes to money, you mentioned before about the whole like perception of it and how we treat it. I think this is from my experience, is that when I was in recruitment, I mean, I was similar to yourself. I was a trainee chef, and then I worked as a chef for a few years, and then I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to get into a situation that was going to allow me to
You didn't enjoy being an aggressive, coke-snorting psychopath. My experience from nightclub security is, if we had a real problem, I always used to joke with the lads, if we have a real problem tonight, let's just get the fucking chefs out to deal with it. They're lunatics.
It was a mental industry, and you mentioned earlier, just before we come on the live, saying you've got some stories about the taxis. I reckon I've got some for you too.
Okay.
But so I moved into recruitment, and I, very similar to what you said, you sort of, and it was only in 18 months, but I really like doubled down on it, and I never see my friends. I never went out to parties. You know, you just sort of live this sort of life of recruitment. You, like you said, mastering your craft, and in the end, you know, I was turning over £6,000 a week, 30 grand a year, and 30 grand a month, and things. And I think now, looking back, I was earning all this money, but I was so unhappy, and I was thinking, oh, I don't need that much. Just need to get by, have enough of it, enjoy myself, and be comfortable. But I think because so many people haven't had that, especially from, you know, where we're from, our backgrounds, they're sort of always wanting that more. You know, they're wanting this, you know, like you said, the people in California, the $1 million and things. But I think that once you've experienced money, once you've experienced, you know, success, you realize how little value it actually brings, you know, in terms of fulfillment and purpose.
True. It's so true. And it's almost like a traumatic initiation, you know, like initiations always have that element of pain and suffering, and it breaks something in you and you never go back. You can't, once you're initiated and you have that tribal scar or tattoo or whatever, you can't go back. And having had money and just seeing what it can do for you and what it can't do for you is a very important experience. And I think if entrepreneurs watching this follow the rules and go along with it, they will make money. I can promise you'll make money. Relationships are hard. Like, life is complicated. Money is a piece of piss. It's formulaic. You follow the formula. It's like a sausage machine. You put the meat in one end, it goes, and sausages come out the other end. Not hard. It's super formulaic. But I can guarantee you money. I can't guarantee you happiness.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you have to have like a philosophical, almost a spiritual approach to this, and just be like, okay, I am some sort of consciousness in this flesh suit. And when I feel good, it's really nice.
Yeah.
When I feel like shit, it's not nice. It's not good. My mood is bad. I have bad thoughts. I'm not having a good time on this planet. What do people imagine feeling like shit but having money in the bank does?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fucking torture. It's torture, because if you've come from a working class background and you're told that's the palace on the hill, and you're in the palace on the hill going, well, I want to slip my fucking wrists.
Yeah.
There's no up from there, which is why I think a lot of celebrities can get, or people who get very successful very quickly, they go mad. People who win the lottery, I think the numbers for people who win the lottery who spunk it away inside of 10 years, I think it's most, because it's kind of cruel to give.
It's actually quite sad.
It's quite sad. It's quite a cruel thing to do, to dump that power on somebody. You know, it's like getting the bends when you come out of deep sea water. You need to come up slowly, and you acclimatize. You go, oh, you need to learn money. You need to learn psychology. You need to learn values. You need to learn all this. You want to feel good. So if you've got a business where you get out of bed in the morning and you're like, fuck, I've got some clients today. Yes. Oh, I've got this video to shoot today. I want to get into this video. I'm going to tell people something they've never seen before. They've never fucking thought, and it's going to be funny, and you're good. Like, you're excited to work. You're richer than the guy who's making, I don't know, £10,000 a second or whatever he's doing on the stock market. You're literally richer than him. We have one life. You never get your time back. You can't buy time. No money in the world buys time. And you can't get your attention back. You can't get your appreciation of life back. So if you're having a good time while you're working, you're rich. That's as rich. That's as good as it gets. You're getting out of bed and you're like, I'm ready to do this today. I'm ready to do this for people today. You're rich, man. That's as good as it gets.
No, I mean, I can relate to that, because, like you said, you know, I was sort of, I guess, socially conditioned to be like, you know, finish school and then it's like, right, okay, now I need to get a job that's going to pay me money. Family never had money. I want to have money. Then I got money and I was like, well, is this thought it'd be more to it. And then you're just like, okay, well, now it's time to find what sort of actually makes me tick. You know, what's my purpose? What do I enjoy doing? Yeah. And when you mentioned then about, again, money, I remember a client a couple of weeks back said to me, Shaun, I really want to take some coaching out with you, but things have been really difficult with the pandemic. And she was like, so once I'm on my feet, you know, let's get something booked in. And I see all these things and all these, like, you know, videos, content and things, and they're like, know your value as a coach, you know, your prices. And I was thinking, I literally responded to this person, said, I got into coaching because I enjoy helping people. Whatever you can pay now, I'm happy to accept that. And it's not because I'm lowering my standards thinking, oh yeah, you know, it was because this person genuinely wanted help, which in my opinion, most people sort of know there's something wrong, but they don't want to go and seek help. So this person seen me online and said, would love to work with you, can't afford it right now. And I wanted to help them because I wanted to help them, not because I was thinking, oh, pounds and pence, dollars and cents. So absolutely, I think, that sort of resonates with me, because we all just, I think it was Jim Carrey said, he wishes everyone was rich to figure out that it's not that exciting. It's not that good.
But he's right, because that's the trick, is if you can have a population of people who think, once if I live like the Kardashians, or if I had the life of a social media influencer, they'd realize that even the Kardashians don't have that life. Like nobody has that life. It's a total fucking illusion, and it doesn't mean anything. But when you were poor and you had your family around you, and you had your mates around you, and you could meet up and have a laugh, and life was simple, and you have love, and you can maybe just dance every once in a while, take a walk. That's it. There isn't anything else. It's a sickness. It's what's it called? Wetico, they call it.
Oh, right, okay.
Wetico, this demon of greed and evil that possesses people. Wetico. You shouldn't even say the demon's name, apparently. So let's make it so it's better again. Hermes. And it infects people, and it corrupts their perception, so that they get locked into the material world, and they become like hungry ghosts. Like Pirates of the Caribbean. They had the curse of the Black Pearl. No matter what they ate, they can eat and they can drink, but there's no satiation. So you're just a hungry ghost. Well, look across the water to Liverpool. Look at your celebrities in Liverpool and your footballers and that, snorting beak every weekend, smashing thousands every weekend on champagne and hookers and all that. And you just think, I used to do security for people like that, and I'd watch them and I'd just be like, I am looking at misery. I'd stand in nightclubs, like there was a posh nightclub, it's gone a long time ago, called the Living Room and the Mosquito, and it was on Victoria Street.
Oh, right,
and I'd stand there. It was the Old She Club for the old heads who were watching. I'd stand there and I'd just look around, and I'd be like, these are the great and the good. This is the glitterati. This is misery. I'm looking at misery. Not one of you cunts is happy. There's no joy in this room. It's like a painting by Hieronymus Bosch. Everybody's just in this dominance fight, this struggle, trying, and it's like a vision of hell on earth. They're just trying to feel something, but they're disconnected. They're disconnected from, I don't know, whatever people want to believe it is, like spirit or source or something higher than themselves. And it should be there in business. It can be there in business. And maybe this is the future. We could take business back from the big corporations. We can be capitalists, but be community minded and sell and trade with each other. So the other element of your story that I just wanted to reflect back to you on is, you as a craftsman are in your initiatory period. And so you should work for less or for free or like more than a discount. And if people say to you like, oh no, boundaries, you can't do that, you just say, well, I'm learning by doing. This is the real learning. This is the real martial arts of business. You're not studying it from a book. You're learning by doing. And when it comes to business, that's the only way to learn. You can't learn this shit in the university. People say to me, should I get an MBA? And after I've laughed for 15 minutes, cruelly in their faces until drool is running down my chops, I'm like, please, please, please don't do that. I know tons of people with MBAs. They're frozen with paralysis because they've got all this knowledge and all this information, and they think they're supposed to be better than the person who goes down to Birkenhead Market, sells socks on a stall and turns over a profit. None of us are better than that. Everybody should have the humility to work for free or work for cheap as you learn your craft. You're not working for free. They're training you. Thanks very much. I'll try and help. I had clients in the early days with really serious PTSD issues. And I was like, fucking hell, I'm a self-defense instructor who thought he was going to be setting goals with people. And they'd come to me and they would have these horrendous stories from childhood. And I'd just go, I'm not qualified, right? I'm not qualified for this. I can't. I have no experience in helping people. And they'd just be like, some of them, I was charging like 20 quid an hour at the time. They'd be like, well, I've had therapists and I didn't like them. And I just want to talk to you and we'll see what happens. And that is a completely legitimate trade. There's no deception there. There's no false expectation. And I was learning a craft. I can't even remember the word for what it is when you're learning a craft. What's that called?
The word when you're learning a craft.
If you're going to be a plumber, say I'm a plumber and you're helping me and you're going to be a plumber one day.
I'm an apprentice.
Thank you. For fuck's sake, I thought I lost all my words today. I wanted to call you an initiate. And I'm like, no, it's not magic. It's not learning alchemy.
Yeah, apprentice.
So this is the humility of the apprenticeship as we learn to be craftspeople in our craft. And in a sense, this is a return to the old capitalism of 1777, Adam Smith, where when he set down the rules that we use today for capitalism, he wasn't thinking of Coca-Cola and BMW. He was thinking of cobblers and art, people who made bows for arrows and people who would make dresses and hats. He wasn't thinking of billions of people trading every day in the stock exchange. There is nothing wrong with capitalism in and of itself. It's that it's become this mutated thing that probably has more cronyism than capitalism in it. I really believe capitalism is a good thing. It's a red-blooded endeavor. Being an entrepreneur and selling people stuff is a righteous thing to do. But if we have it in the back of our minds, I'm kind of being the Wolf of Wall Street. I got to have slick hair and be, ripping off like 80-year-old women of their life savings. You're gonna end up in a bad place. There's no need. Just sell people really good stuff at a really, really good price and have them come back for more and more and more. And you've got a business. You can pay your mortgage. You can put fuel in the car. Feel good about yourself. You can save a bit. Go on holiday a couple of times every year. What are we trying to do? Like when people start out with business, I always say to them, "What do you want to earn?" And they'll tell me some figure, and I'll be like, "No, weekly," because that's how I started. Yeah. I remember the day that I set up in business. I know exactly where I was in my auntie's house. I lived in her attic, and I wrote down on a piece of paper like, well, if I made £250 a week, I could put fuel in the car and I could rent a little flat. That's how it started, man. You got to start where you're at and figure out what the dollar amount is. You can always bring it up. You can always be like, well, that was nice. We've got another baby on the way, or maybe the kids could go to private school now. Push it up. But don't be a lunatic and go, I'm earning nothing. I want to be a millionaire. Like who? Who's ever in the history of the world done that? Even drug dealers don't do that. Even criminals. It's not. Another belief I'd encourage people to internalize is that there really is no such thing as fast or easy money. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Everything that you watch that you think is fast and easy money ain't fast and it ain't easy, and it comes at a hell of a risk.
Yeah. I think that what you mentioned then is probably half of the reason why earlier on in the stream you mentioned 99% of businesses fail. It's because that sort of mindset of, rather than adding sort of value, it's trying to add as much money. And if people was trying to focus primarily on adding value and, becoming better within their craft, like you said, mastering the craft, and less about the final figure, more businesses would, I guess, excel.
Well, this is where I would agree with Marx, right? I don't think he was a great economist, but I think he was a smart guy, and he probably should have just stuck to psychology and philosophy. But his theories of alienation, which was that like people in capitalism of the Industrial Revolution that he was looking at, because he was appalled by the conditions, I think in Belgium and in London. So the communist revolution is actually based on him walking around London and seeing the degradation of the workhouses and being like, well, this isn't fucking fair, which it wasn't. People become alienated from their work under crony consumer capitalism that gets way out of control. We don't want that alienation. We don't want to be alienated from each other. We don't want to be alienated from our work. It's not natural. By nature, we are community-minded creatures and we want to give. We all have a drive to contribution. Some people more, some people less, but we all have a community sense of contribution. We are tribal. We're not evolving out of that for another. It'll be 25 to 30,000 years before you see that shift. And I hope it never does, because we need each other. We are communal mammals. So we have to tap that. And if you try and fight it, as you just said, like, I do think a lot of the reasons why these businesses fail is because of self-sabotage, Because on some level, we're moral creatures. So even if you try to be the Wolf of Wall Street, you're not. You're trying to model the actions of a narcissistic psychopath, but you're not.
Yeah.
So you don't feel good, so you don't do it. But if you had the idea of like, you know, there's a mate of mine runs a health food thing out of the gym that's by Arrow Park, Empowered Fit.
Oh yeah,
and he has this sort of right mindset. He's just trying to provide people with healthy, nutritious food so that they have better health and have the kind of body that they want. You can align with your core values and act in congruence, or you can try and be a horrible, exploitative twat. One of those is not going to work because you are a moral creature. One of the reasons why I'm forgetting my words today is I'll tell you something really daft that I did. I've had no access to a gym for months, and here in Ibiza I can go to the gym, and I absolutely slaughtered myself. But the gym is outside, so I got sunburned and ended up doing an hour and a half of bag work. I was loving it. Had the music on, full pre-workout, buzzing off my tits. And I kept looking at the clock going, if you don't stop, you're going to have problems later. Well, now I've got problems. Now I can't remember my fucking word. Listen, if you've never seen me before, ladies and gentlemen, I'm much more cogent than this. I've just punched my brains out. What were we talking about, sir? Sorry.
No, I wanted to move on to though is when was it? Yeah, I saw you put a TikTok out, and one of the questions was in regards to business coaching. Yeah. So the reason we're ultimately having this conversation is because that's as a relatively new coach within the industry, I am in a very similar situation now whereby I have sort of found myself resolving problems, helping people that primarily wouldn't have initially been my niche, if you like, or target audience. But ultimately, in the long sort of term of coaching, I hope to be in it for a while. The business side of it is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in that massively. But what's the reason that you're interested in it at the moment? You said on the TikTok, psychology. You obviously have these times where you're interested in providing value on one particular topic, but right now it seems to be business coaching. Why is that for you?
It's a lot of things. It's a lot to do with like Freud and my own childhood trauma and everything. Basically, psychology, me doing psychology the way that I've ended up doing is me talking to my mum when I was a kid because she wanted a psychologist. This is called emotional incest, where you use your own children as like a friend or a confidant or as a... It's just totally inappropriate. So when I was 10 years old, I'd be trying to give my mum therapy at age 30 for her relationship with my dad because my dad was a bad man. He's a criminal. And then my dad did a similar thing where he'd only talk to me if I was talking to him about philosophy. So psychology and philosophy are both manifestations of me trying to win my parents' love.
Right.
But what neither of them could do, even though they tried again and again, was flourish in business. But I fucking can. Because I'm not a cunt. Because I don't have the... obviously, they're the products of their environments, as we were discussing before we came on, like the northwest of England for a number of... If you're from America and you're looking at this, the closest... I've traveled all around America, the major cities. The closest thing you have in America to what happened in Liverpool and Birkenhead with the death of the shipping industry is Detroit. So the car industry just dried up there. All the wealthy people, it's so sad. All the fucking wealthy people left. They took some of middle management with them, and then they just left. All the lowest level factory workers were just abandoned. And you can see this similar trajectory into just raw criminality because people are desperate. There's still as many people. They still have mouths to feed, but there's no fucking work, and there's too many people there. And so it creates these harsh conditions by which criminality is like incubated like a petri dish, which that's people who are not from the UK wouldn't know this, but what we're known for in our area is criminality. And it's not a negative stereotype. We are criminal as fuck. I mean, it's insane how, like, if you're from that area, just a normal person from that area, I've never asked you this, but I know that you know probably 4 or 5 people who are professional criminals, like lifelong, and you would have gone to school with them. They're just lads who you know from the pub. but they've never had a job and they've always got money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of my
it's more common than uncommon.
It's more common than not, exactly. And it's not a flex, nor is it a condemnation. It's just the way it is, and I don't think it's anything other than that. It's this weird sort of high rise. It's an economic power. It was and there were craftsmen there who were highly valued throughout the world. We built the ships that did everything in the world. Yeah. So everybody was looking to Liverpool and Camel Aids, Birkenhead, because we're all Irish descendants, and we could work with our hands, and we were good at what we did. We had value, and it disappeared within years, same as Detroit. So what else are you going to do? Like, what else are you going to do? It's not like you can reskill and be like, we'll just go to university and reskill. Yeah. That wasn't a fucking option. So it generates these attitudes that are a little bit harsh and are a bit violent. The only place I saw in America that had the same style as us is Boston, which also it's the Irish immigrants, who also it was thriving. It's a port town, and then it went down, and it's not so good. And you have places like Charlestown in Boston. I don't know if you saw the Ben Affleck movie, The Town.
No, I've not seen it. No.
Watch that, because what you'll see, it's really strange experience. I remember it came out 10, 12 years ago. It's Ben Affleck's best film. And I'm sat there and I'm watching it, and I'm seeing a bunch of guys who are wearing tracksuits in the day, but they're not going to play tennis. They've all got weird haircuts, and they're all wearing sovereign rings, and they're talking with weird accents and weird slang. And behind them, they're always talking in front of shipping containers and jumping in and out of cars and punching each other and shit. And I'm like, hey, this looks fucking familiar, you know. I think I've seen this before, like
on the taxis every weekend.
On the taxis, yeah. Even the background, you know, the background somebody, and you look up and you're like, that could be Liverpool Docks. And it's the same. It's these similar issues play out again and again. It breeds. When I'm saying criminality, what I mean is you're in a low resource environment and you want to escape, but you're not educated. Doesn't mean you're stupid. Yeah. But you're not educated. What the fuck are you going to do? Well, you can either become a boxer. So who produces good boxers? Boston, Liverpool. You could try stand-up comedy. Boston's produced plenty of stand-up comedians, only because it's harsh. I imagine a harsh environment where people speak to each other harshly. So you have the thick skin to deal with an audience. Or you sell something that you shouldn't be selling, or steal something that you shouldn't be stealing. And that's the way it goes. Now, this breeds this kind of mindset that everybody can relate to, where there isn't enough on the table. You could relate it. Every country has the same experience. The Italian-American experience is the same thing. Any immigrant population goes through these same problems over a long enough period of time because of the cycles of capitalism. It goes up, it goes down. It's not a bug, it's a feature. And who suffers when it goes down? The working class people, the people who are running the corporations. They just take a break for a couple of years. Look at what's happening now with the thing that's going on that we can't mention. So my love of business it's almost, to me, feels like code breaking. Like, I'm just looking at every major influence in my life, from the education system, security industry, family, all the businesses I was related to, and all my friends. And I'm like, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. And there's real light here. There's real optimism here. You don't have to be a prick to make money. Yeah. In fact, it's psychologically, physically, and emotionally easier to not. Yeah. Just be good. Just give people good products, good services. I wouldn't change it for any of the criminal stuff I see my mates doing, because nothing I do will ever logically end up with me being stabbed in a bar or ending up in a prison cell. Nothing. There's nothing I do. All these guys, they're so used to that. It's so hyper normalized that that's a likely outcome. They just think that's life, and I'm like, that's not life. That's not a way to live. And we don't have to do things that way. That attitude is right the way through the system. At the top levels of government, at the top levels of corporation, you have gangsterism and narcissistic, psychopathic mentalities that it's a dog-eat-dog world. It isn't. And I'm living proof. It just isn't. You don't have to do that to make money. It's not necessary.
Yeah, I think it's a shame, like you said, is it's a shame that it is more common than uncommon, because people think, like you said, there's very little opportunity. What can I do? Okay, well, let's just go for something that I know, and especially in them sort of areas, drugs and anything else that you want to sort of look at is all too
Cars,
common.
guns, kidnapping, all of this stuff, and it's really sad, because to make another slightly sort of wafty new age spiritual point, it really is an energy field. It really is a level of consciousness, and if you're living in it, it's damn hard to break out of, because it's in the walls, it's in the air, it's in the music, it's in the clothes, it's in how you talk. Like, we wouldn't talk like this in our environments where we're from, because you can't talk like this. You're soft.
Yeah.
You have to stand, talk, breathe. You move your head a different way. It's all this bullshit. Why? Because you're scared of getting kicked to death. Yeah. And people say, well, that's a bit much. That doesn't happen. It happens literally every fucking weekend. Some poor cunt gets kicked to death for looking at some other cunts in a bar the wrong way.
Yeah. It's almost like we're too afraid to stand out, and we'd rather blend in, even if 100%. It's sort of at the expense of our sort of values and things.
100%. 100%. It's so a lot of this, like, as far as entrepreneurs go, you've got to realize what your mindset is, and you've got to change your beliefs. You've got to break out. If you're from that sort of an area, you've got to break out of it. If you might be from like an upper middle class background, where you'd be like, well, money is evil, and look at what money did to my friends, or look at what money did to the parents of my friends, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, if you can't get cozy with money and just be like, money's good, money's not evil, money is a force, it can be used for good, it can be used for evil, but it's okay. Capitalism, good. Money, good. Trade, good. Business is good. Selling people things is good. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
One of the other things I love about it is I think it brings dignity to people. You're dignified by this trade. You are dignified. I recognize you and I give you something. You're dignified by it. I'm paid. The money dignifies me, because I've lived the indignity of poverty. There's nothing righteous about being poor. It stinks. No. And so everybody, I have that attitude of like, this is a good, positive thing, and everybody wins. If you have even a shred of guilt or shame or doubt, don't start the business until you've got that out. If you've got some sort of weird Marxist anti-capitalism thing, you've got to really think about it, man. Because your unconscious is not going to let you do something that is fundamentally not within congruence with your values. Your unconscious is not going to let you do something that it regards as being fundamentally unsafe. Absolutely. So you've got to have your unconscious aligned with the whole endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason business coaching, for me, I'm sort of incentivized, or, I'm excited to sort of do that, is primarily not for the money, but before the value I'm going to add. I remember asking you a while back, I literally said to you on one of the Instagram, rest in peace, one of the Instagram messages, I said, why do you do this, Rich? I said, why do you always do this? And you said to me, to serve others, to help others. And I was like, that for me is exactly what I want, which sort of initiated, you said to me as well earlier on, gains credibility. Just by that simple exchange. I didn't pay for anything. You didn't, ask me for anything. I asked you a simple question, and your credibility in my eyes, in my sort of perception, was like, yeah, this is a good guy. This is someone who I would like to learn from and I would like to work with. So yeah, I think it goes back to what you mentioned before, the sort of perception of money, wanting to win a quick buck, wanting this sort of label of a millionaire. I think it was a couple of years back, was it Kylie Jenner sort of had this, the first 21-year-old to be a billionaire or something silly. And then everyone's sort of like, oh, I need to do that. I need my million. And then when you've got a million, it's like, oh, I want my billion. It's like, oh, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. So
it is unless you can directly translate it to happiness. And I just don't know. I just don't know how a person can do that, because it's not. We get so many things right in modern culture. We get so many things wrong. We're trying to put money in a place where it's like, that's not where money goes. Where people do love and relationships. And I'm like, everybody's like putting square pegs in round holes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's awkward, and then they're agitated and they're upset. And I'm like, well, you're not doing something natural. This is not the way it's, when it's natural, the way you know is it flows and it feels good and you feel good and everybody feels good. But if you try and like force some weird ideological, it's really agitating and it stresses everybody out. So the point of, just because it's good advice for entrepreneurs watching this, if you want to make more money, do a better job. That's it. Don't go to some slick person who's going to be like, oh, do this Instagram ad and it got me like 5 times the client rate. Just do a really good job. People want you to do a good job. They will knock your door down if you're doing a good job. So just get better. If you're making a service for people, make it a better service. If it's a product, make it a better product. And you know, people appreciate that, especially now, because as I said before, everything stinks. Everything sucks. You can't even trust the there's a feedback score on everything.
On what? On just everything in
like
general?
On an Amazon product or on Yelp or on Airbnb or Booking.com. Everything's got feedback and everybody's at fucking 5 out of 5 stars. It's all shite. All shite because people ripped the system off. And we broke trust with each other, and it's actually damaged the fabric of reality. This is no joke, man. Through bad business practice, through poor, through the application of action that lacked moral value, people who were like, oh, I'm only trying to make a bit more money so I can send the kids to swimming class. No, sorry. You've contributed to damaging reality. You've actually torn at a thread that was holding it together. Because without trust, we are fucked as a tribe. And that is what we are, like it or not, one fucking tribe. And if there's no trust, we're doomed, man. So there's a lot of like the stress that we're seeing now. You can extrapolate this out globally. If people don't act in a way that is reciprocal and helpful and kind and authentic, we'll just descend into narcissistic psychopathy and nihilism. And as a species, we'll take ourselves out of the game. Because I think at an unconscious biological level, we'll be like, hey man, we're no good. I think that's what we're up to right now. Everybody's like, we're no good. So let's riot. Let's kill each other. Let's have another genocide. Let's settle for and we're seeing that bubbling to the surface now. We can stop all that. We can stop all that, but we have to go first. You have to go first. I have to go first. The people watching this have to go first. Trust. People are good, intrinsically good. Sometimes they get a little brainwashed and they get a little freaked out, or they're being given drugs or weird stuff. But basically, most of humanity is good. And if you operate from that belief and from that principle, there's enough for everyone, easily enough for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sooner people realize that, the better. That, when it comes to, you mentioned earlier on that there's so much money around and you need to just be accepting. I'm a big sort of believer in sort of community over competition. I remember when I first started coaching, I was overwhelmed with people approaching me. Literally, I remember reaching out to you and I was thinking, I reached out to you for advice. People were messaging me, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And I didn't feel comfortable or competent in certain areas. So what did I do? I went on Instagram and messaged the coaches that I knew specialized in that industry. And I was like, here you go. Some coaches, there's some clients here for you. And then I could have absolutely manipulated it in terms of, okay, earning X amounts for every single referral, which I'm sure in a business concept further down the line, I'll be happy to do, so everyone wins and everyone adds value. But for me, primarily, it was about the credibility, maintaining the credibility.
You're on year one. You're doing that apprenticeship thing. You're building relationships. You're networking. Some of those people will just be like, cheers, Shaun, fuck you. But some of them will remember. They'll remember. And you don't know. You don't know how. It's like Buddhism, karma, the ripples in the pool. You don't know that ripples out. It hits the edge of the pool and it comes back. 3 years' time, 7 years' time, some opportunity comes into your lap. And, you said it before, credibility. You can't buy credibility. But these people, they may recommend you one day. You might get a shout out on an Instagram profile that's got 2 million followers. And that'll be the year that you crack your £100,000 annual target, which you can do, and anybody can do. And that's a beautiful thing. You don't have to be stuck in shit jobs, operating like a robot for some weird robotic faceless corporation full of weird zombie people. There are other options out here, but you must, you really have to change the thinking to get there. But you've already done it. You asked me these questions in December, didn't you?
Yeah, not long ago at all.
How many clients have you
got? 12 now.
See, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Don't fuck around, right? Just fucking get it done. What are you waiting for? Get out there. No, you. That's good. You've got a strong, robust attitude. 3 months later, 12 clients. Perfect. Couldn't ask for more. I mean, I would just be like, wonderful. My prognosis for your progression is very, very positive because you did it. You've got, for people watching this, do it. Do it. Learn by the magic of doing. It's never going to be perfect. You'll have awkward moments and weird conversations, but if you're honest with people and you're a good person, they'll forgive you, and they'll probably be a client for life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for me, one thing that shifted for me is, I mentioned earlier about being able to ask for help. There's too many people out there I've seen and spoken to and worked with that will just try and do it all themselves. And I'm a big believer in, as I said to you before, someone's going to know something better than me in this particular industry. I'm going to ask them I could have asked you, for example. You could have just not emailed me back, and I'd have been like, okay, well, I'll ask someone else. And that's a mentality I think you need to have in entrepreneurship. It needs to be, resilient, and okay, this person's not helping me. Who else? What else can I do to get the sort of ascertain the information I want?
Which takes humility, by the way. It takes some very, very important human attributes that we're collectively lacking at the moment, which is humility and courage. But if you're determined and you put humility and courage into the mix, you'll be a force to be reckoned with, because you just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm ready to learn. And I'm not just going to sit here, because the Americans have a term called an ask hole, which is useful. Like some people ask hole. So they just ask questions to sort of feed off the attention of just being given answers, but they don't do anything with it. The fact that inside of 3 months you've actioned this to the point where you have 12 clients, it just tells me everything I need to know. I'll be like, yeah, Shaun will be fine. You might come to me for some detail of something or a bit of smoothing of the edge of a table that you're working on in your craftsmanship, but you won't. Yeah. If you can get out there and just get started, it's huge. That initial gap between thought and action, it seems tiny. It's this tiny little microscopic neurological bridge that has to fire. But if you look at it from another perspective, it becomes a huge fucking ravine abyss that most people won't cross because they're like, oh shit, I don't know what's going to happen if I go over there. Just do it. Just do it.
Just get it done. I think that's what it is for me as well. That's what interests me in the business coaching side of it, is because the black and white of it is I'm thinking, if I can do it from where like you mentioned before, your upbringing, what you've done, what I've been through and what I've, become, I just think, well, if I can do it, then anyone can do it. It's not mentioned a lot of the time. Money is out there. There's a lot of it, but focusing on getting the money can end up, you can end up being really down, really depressed. But focusing on sort of adding value, focus on your purpose, and money's the byproduct, then great.
Yeah, and let the money take care of itself. Money is its own entity. It's its own spirit. In Chinese philosophy, there's a god of money, or Chinese culture, I should say. There's a god of money, and he responds to certain actions. He responds to certain patterns of behavior. So just let him handle it. He's got your money. And if you've got authenticity, credibility, and a network, you can always go to that network if you need money. And you can ask people for money. Not to ask them straight up to give you money for free, but you can run a course. You can do group coaching. And people will just be delighted to give it to you, because they give money to people who give them products and services that suck all the time. You know this because you're a human in the world. I know this because I'm a human in the world. You buy products and they don't work, or they're overpriced, or the service is shit, and that is standard. And you can't speak to anybody. There's nobody there for you to talk to. I didn't like the way this happened. Really, didn't you? You can speak to a customer service team in whatever country, Kazakhstan, if you like, and see what they have to tell you. But with you, or with anybody who's here who's an entrepreneur, they can come straight to you. And the thing I would say, as far as like complaints and refunds go, when somebody opens their mouth to complain, the first thing you do is you just go, "There's your money. There's your money." There's no question. It's never worth quibbling over it. Give them their money back. It's theirs. It was the business's money for a second. It was never yours. After 6 months, I think the business has digested it, and that's okay. Then, but everybody agrees with that. Credit card companies have policies that are 6 months. PayPal is 6 months. The law is going to look favorably on you. But other than that, if people come back to you and they're like, "I'm not sure I like this," give them the money back, and then offer a solution. Then say, "What else can I do for you? Obviously, you weren't happy with it. Can I recommend you to another coach? Can we do this? Can we do that?" Protect your reputation. Protect the love, man.
Absolutely. One final thing, if that's all right with you, Rich.
Yeah,
I before when you were talking about, excuse me 1 sec, I think I'm going to sneeze.
Look at the light; it will come out.
I am trying. It's gone now.
You scared it away. That's what it is. Do you know you have an 11th of an orgasm every time you sneeze?
11th.
I read it in Cosmopolitan. It's probably utter bullshit.
Yeah, must be true then. You mentioned before about the, complaint system and things. I am very, very sort of black and white now. I sort of seek criticism. And one thing I've started doing is not asking for feedback, but asking, how can I make this better? And I think it's such a small change, but it's absolutely revolutionized the feedback that I'm getting. So it's, instead of being, "Oh, can I have some feedback on the coaching?" They're like, "Oh, Shaun, it's brilliant. One conversation with you. Can't believe you've not spoken before." I started saying, how can I make this service better? So my question to you is, what if, for a fellow coach like me, future entrepreneurs, coaches watching, how can we seek feedback in the right way? And where do we go for that?
I think the tip that you just gave, I couldn't improve upon. I think that's gold dust, because you're speaking to the right person. You're not speaking to a tire kicker, an attention seeker, or a time waster. They've already given you money. You've already done the session, and they've already experienced your product, and you're only asking for improvement. Perfect. So you're asking the right person, the right time, the right place, in the right way. For feedback that can only benefit you. Even if it's not right for you, or it's not right for your business, at least you can look at it and say, "Okay, that's interesting. That's the third person who said that to me this year. That's interesting. I don't really want to do that, but maybe I can." You can sort of intelligently and imaginatively incorporate elements of what they've suggested, even if you don't do it directly. But I mean, we're back. We've come full circle in a sense, which is we're back to the beginning. This is a conversation. We're not dictating. We're not dictators. We don't tell people, "You must do this, you must do that, and this is the way you do it." We're in a conversation with the market, and this is the opposite of non-servium. Servium. We're trading with them. So the market. This is the beautiful, delicious, wonderful red-bloodedness of pure free market capitalism. If you suck, you suck. It's great. Nobody gives a fuck because you suck, and you won't get paid. Ha 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 ha. You can tell your story. You can try and complain to a manager. It's what the market wants. What do they want? So that conversation, again, it's back to that sacred contract between you and the client. What do you want? What do you want from me? What can
Ask
I do
and you
better?
shall
How
receive.
do I serve you better? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we've been on for an hour and a quarter, so I shall let you try and figure out maybe you could spend the rest of the evening reading a dictionary and getting the words back that you you
No, I
lost.
think all I'm going to do is eat some food and watch like some nonsense on Netflix. I think that's
Cardi
the only
B.
thing my mind can tolerate right now. I'm trying to catch
Well,
up with the Walking Dead, but I don't even watch the Walking Dead anymore. You know what I do? I sit there and I just critique how bad the writing is, and that's fun. That's fun for me now. That's what Netflix is so shit that I don't enjoy the entertainment like naively. I just enjoying how bad it is.
I think my partner's watching The Walking Dead at the moment. You know what else she's been involved in, and I hate it. I hate it. You may actually think it's the concept of it from a psychological point of view is actually quite interesting. But have you heard of The Circle?
No, I haven't. No.
So I won't bore you with the details, but basically they put X amount of people in. I will bore you with the details. They'll put X amount of people in a house, and you can pretend to be a catfish, or you can be real. So you've got men posing as women, you've got women posing as old men, all to win 100 grand. Which I think is quite fitting considering what we've just been talking about. This sort of constant sort of battle of up the ladder trying to get that money. And
is it an American TV show?
I don't know if they started it in America, but it's in the UK. It's in the city of Salford, or I don't think Salford's not a city, is it? It's in a town of Salford.
I've heard Salford referred to as a city. Oh, it's called Salford City, so it certainly thinks it's a city. And who are we to say that Salford is not?
That's where it's from, Salford.
I'll give it a go. It sounds like the gears of it are psychologically more targeted towards the female than the male mind.
Yeah.
Who's who? What are the relationships? Who are they pretending to be? What are their choices? This is probably more stimulating for the ladies, but I'll give it a go.
I wouldn't waste your time, but I just thought it would be interesting. I thought you might have heard it from a psychological.
Well, no, I'll enjoy it from the way that I enjoy it, which is I'll sit there and critique how fucking terrible it is.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully, people who've seen this now or in the future, and hopefully it adds value. And let's, like you said before, just start. And sometimes I think the only person sort of in the way is sometimes yourself, isn't it?
100%, yeah, definitely. Just get going and learn by the magic of doing.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, Rich, and I will see you shortly.
Cheers, buddy.
Take care.